YouTube, this is the Tin Dragon Blade coming at you with another deck profile. This is a deck that I was working on, and I believe I quoted it and said it in one of my videos of the past. Buster Bladers. This deck has Proxys. This is supposed to be another Buster Blader right here, and this is the new Destruction Swordsman. So you run two OG Buster Blader and one of the new one, because the new one's okay. His effect is really good, but he's only treated as Buster Blader while on the field and in graveyard, not in hand. Which the next card I'll get to will be Buster Whelp, and that's why Buster Whelp is good with the OG Buster Blader. That's why you want to get this one out of the graveyard as quick as possible. He does have another effect. If your opponent's monster, if a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of those destroyed monsters and equip it to this card. Then you can send one equipped monster card from this card to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls with the same type as that monster. So, with Buster Dragon on the field, they all become dragons, so whatever he kills, even to certain archetypes, like what is it, PK Fire. They have machines, they have fiends, they have basically a mixture. Against that deck, this deck is not going to really put up a fight, but I'm just saying, this deck is just in need of tweaking. So, 3 Buster Whelp, I'll reuse effect. When this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 Destruction Sword card from your deck to your hand, except Buster Whelp. You can only use one of the following effects once per turn, and only once that turn. So you can tribute him off to special a Buster Blader from your hand or graveyard, or if this card is in your graveyard, you can discard a Destruction Sword card in order to get it back. So, very useful little guy. Usually search Destruction Swords and Fusion, because then you can start pitching and start cycling them back. He's a very tricky card, but I like him. He's a 1-star light tuner as well. Then we run triple Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. You can target one Buster Blader monster you control and equip this monster from your hand or your side of the field to that target. When this card is equipped to a monster and your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, that's very important. His other effect is that while he's equipped to a monster, he can special summon himself. So he's like a Dragonity Phalanx built in to being stopping their extra deck plays. He's probably the biggest one besides Whelp that you use the most, because they're also 1-star tuners, and their cards are consonants targets. Then we run the other busters, 1 Wizard Buster and 1 Robot Buster. I thought about bumping them to 2, but I feel that they would be a little cloggy. Wizard Buster, you can, obviously its first effect is you can equip it from your hand or your side of the field. When this card is equipped to a monster, monsters in your opponent's graveyard cannot activate their effects, so it's a mini Abyss Dweller. Then you can send this equipped card to the graveyard to target 1 Destruction Sword monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So you can use this to get Whelp back, if anything. Now, Robot Buster. While this card is equipped to a monster, spells and traps your opponent that are already on the already face up on the field cannot activate their effects. So if they have any continuous cards and pendulum cards, I'm pretty sure it works against pendulums, but I could be wrong. Then you can send this equipped card to the graveyard to have Buster Blader gain 1,000 attack, which is very, very helpful, especially if it's your turn and you're trying to get in there for damage. Then we have 1 Mathematician. This is 2 1-ofs. Mathematician's good for sending Whelp to the graveyard, sending any of the other Destruction Sword monsters to the graveyard. Very helpful card, and of course its draw power is helpful. And you can also make Trish if you want to. Then we have 1, or not Trish, but a level 8. 1 Buster, Blackluster Soldier, not Buster. Blackluster Soldier on from the beginning. There's Light and Darks in this deck. That should be no surprise. You should use this card. And then Double Summoner Monk, because we play a lot of spells, so we can discard the Destruction Sword card, for example, and special summon maybe the Robot Buster or any other level 4. Robot Buster is the other level 4 that you can technically bring out, so it's good. I think that he should be ran at least at 2, and he's a decent defender, you know? Just use him to get Exceed play off, really. Okay, for the spell cards, one Dark Hole, because it's Dark Hole. And one Mind Control, because it's Mind Control. One Foolish, to dump your Whelp, to dump your Destruction Swordsman, and Buster Blader if needed. 1 for 1 to bring out the Whelp directly from the deck, and you can tribute it off. Then we have draw cards. We have Upstart Goblin, sadly it's at 1. Triple Cards of Consonance, because you have 6 targets. You have the 3 Whelps and the 3 Destruction Swords. It's important to use this card so that way you'll be able to discard them and net your advantage, because it's really the only draw card they have in here. Triple MST, because this deck doesn't need Twin Twister. At least I don't see it. Double Dress, just to have some extra protection for your Buster Blader. Double Destruction Sword Fusion. Its effect is as follows. You can fusion summon one fusion monster that lists Buster Blader as a material from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or either side of the field as fusion materials. If this card is in your graveyard, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard, add this card from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use each effect of the Destruction Sword Fusion once per turn. Oh, there you have it. And it's a quick play. It's kind of like a mini Super Poly if you have Buster Dragon out, which is very handy. And I think I might get, what is it? I think I might get Dark Paladin again, just because of that effect. And the common Dark Paladin is probably what I'm going for. And then Double Kaiser. This deck doesn't really swarm. It mostly concentrates on getting a lockdown and a built field, so Kaiser just stops, a lot of pendulum plays, a lot of Exceed heavy decks, and kind of makes them wait a little bit while you're getting your pieces together. So they have to eventually get rid of that card. So yeah, Kaiser. Then we have the traps. Traps are very minimal. I'm going to just go with the one-ofs first. 1 Destruction Sword Flash. If you control a fusion monster that lists Buster Blader as a fusion material, banish all monsters your opponent controls. When a card or effect is activated that targets a Buster Blader monster, except during the damage step, you can banish this card from your graveyard and negate the effect, and if you do, destroy it. So it's like a more broken version of Breakthrough Skill, and its other effect is really good because it doesn't target. So, that being said, having an effect negator and something that, just having it at 1 is really, really nice. Plus, it's searchable, so why not? Then Warning, because it's Warning. Granhorn, because, well, Pendulum decks are a thing, still, even with Twin Twister and everything. And it's really nice to just say no to everything, because Pendulums always come out at the same time. And Breakthrough Skill, because it's Breakthrough Skill. A Pinpoint Guard. I opted over this for Bottomless. Bottomless has a lot of play right now, and is actually really good against Pendulum decks. But Pinpoint Guard is actually pretty good too. If you use this and you bring out your Whelp, it'll be protected for a turn, so it won't be destroyed by battle or card effects. Then you'll be able to tribute it off if you have a Buster Blader in your hand. So the way that I figure it, this card is pretty beneficial. And then Triple Decree, because we don't want any traps going off, except for the 4 that we run. So that being said, having a minimal size set of traps is very beneficial. Alright, so the extra deck. Again, this Proxys. Double Buster Blader the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. His effect is as follows. You cannot attack your opponent directly. This card gains 1,000 attack for each face-up, for each Dragon-type monster in your opponent controls, and that is in their graveyard. Change all Dragon-type monsters your opponent controls to defense position, while also Dragon-type monsters your opponent controls cannot activate their effects, and this card inflicts piercing damage. So he starts out as 28, that's pretty big. Then if you have Buster Dragon, he gains a total of 5,000 if they control 5 monsters, for instance. So he becomes a 78 beater that does piercing, along with being a fiendish chain to your opponent's monsters, which is really, 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 really handy. He's a kind of a pain to bring out, but when you do get him on the field with Buster Dragon, it's rewarding, because, again, It's really hard to get him out. 2 Buster Dragon, one of them is a Proxy. All monsters your opponent controls become Dragon type. Once per turn, if you do not control a Buster Blader, you can target 1 Buster Blader in your graveyard and special summon it. Once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can target 1 Buster Blader you control. Equip 1 Destruction Sword monster from your graveyard to this, from your graveyard. This is a quick effect. So basically, you can equip Destruction Sword cards to Buster Blader, and he'll bring back the Buster Blader. So you Synchro Summon him, you bring him out in defense. He's got 28, so he's pretty big. Then you special the Buster Blader back, and then during their turn, when they're about to do something, unless they have a breakthrough skill, you're pretty much good. And there you go. I usually like to wait to disrupt plays. The most simple play to do is actually when they're going to bring out monsters. For instance, if they're going to go to bring out something from their extra deck, you use his effect and bring out Dragon Buster, equip it to Buster Blader, and they can't special summon monsters from their extra deck. So it's very beneficial. Then we have Stardust and Stardust Spark. They're just in here for the same reason. They're both staple, and they're decent level 8s. Then we have Crimson Blader, because this is for Monarchs, really. It's just for Monarchs. Gigant Castle, it's supposed to be a Trish, but for now, I'm just using this. Then we have some rank 1s. We have Dullahan, and we have Slacker Magician. Slacker Magician's just great. And Dullahan is okay, too, for his other effect. He can attack directly, you know? That's always nice. And they have to attack it, if I remember correctly. It doesn't matter. All I know is that these are the only 2 good rank 1s that I can think of to put in this deck. Then we have rank 4s, we have Silent Anarch, and we have Castel, because they're both really good. A Big Eye, because we can make it with 2 Buster Bladers. Lancelot, and an Agion. An Agion's probably going to get switched for another Lancelot, or something like that. Lancelot is fantastic. He's probably my favorite one in here. You know, having pretty much a 2000 attack body that can be able to run shit, just run in directly, as well as negate your opponent's monster effects. Just really good. Overall, underrated card, but he's weak, so that's the only downside to him. But usually you have an established board. Usually this is what your field should look like. If you have these 3 on the field, you're pretty much golden, and then you have the Dragon Buster equipped to him, and that's pretty much it. They can't do anything else without having to risk their field. Getting destroyed, and this guy doing piercing damage constantly to them. So, Card of the Night is the Fusion. It's 13 Dragon Blade signing off.